Hey guys, tonight we will wander softly through the golden sands of history, tracing the steps of a young king whose dreams reached far beyond the horizon. You step lightly over Macedonia's worn cobblestones, the fading sun warming your shoulders, while a gentle breeze carries scents of wheat and pine. Townsfolk chatter softly as their footsteps echo against ancient walls. Shadows stretch across hilltop fortresses, and you imagine past lives dreaming of distant worlds. You probably couldn't endure a day in their armor, but the thought brings a quiet, amused smile. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Perhaps you notice a cat slinking across a courtyard, pausing briefly to observe your quiet intrusion. Feel free to comment below where you are listening from and what time it is in your little corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wander down narrow streets where centuries of dust cling softly to cobblestones, whispering quiet stories of lives long past. Sunlight spills in warm, slanted beams, touching rooftops with amber glow, while distant mountains shimmer faintly against the evening sky. The gentle hum of water trickling through stone channels forms a calming rhythm, harmonizing with the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. Somewhere, a small bird hops along a low wall, pecking delicately at scattered seeds. You breathe in the serene air, carrying hints of ripening wheat and herbs from tucked-away gardens, letting each inhalation slow your mind. You imagine Alexander strolling these streets as a young man, eyes bright with curiosity, his thoughts wandering far beyond the hills that frame his town. You chuckle softly, imagining how even a future king could pause to notice such tiny delights before the weight of destiny called him forward. The thought of Alexander at 20 brings a quiet kinship, as if you could walk beside him, feeling the subtle pull of life's small wonders amidst monumental expectations. Leaning against a sun-warmed stone wall, you notice carvings and faded etchings left by hands from centuries past, traces of quiet reflection and creativity. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander became king of Macedonia at 20, yet some manuscripts whisper of dreams he kept secret visions of distant lands, ancient cities, and challenges yet unseen. You smile at how history records sweeping victories, but often overlooks these reflective moments, the quiet interludes that shaped his spirit. The sun dips lower, painting the horizon in delicate pinks and violets, as if the sky itself slows to breathe along with you. Passing the old market square, you notice echoes of ancient commerce, faint impressions of barter and laughter that linger in the stones. The scent of rosemary and thyme drifts from small gardens tucked between alleys. A cat pads softly at your side, its movements playful, and you imagine it as a silent observer of history, a mischievous companion to Alexander in his youth. You think of his tutelage under Aristotle, of afternoons spent learning science, philosophy, and the arts amidst calm streets and quiet evenings. Perhaps this very twilight inspired a thought, a strategy, or simply a soft laugh at the everyday miracles of the town. Nearby, the distant chime of a temple bell punctuates the gentle rhythm of life, reminding you of both time's flow and its comforting constancy. As the breeze cools, shadows lengthen across worn pavements. The scent of wood smoke rises from hearths as families settle for evening meals, laughter threading softly through the air. You imagine Alexander walking the same streets, studying maps, or conferring quietly with companions, unaware of the sweeping campaigns to come. Records speak of a mysterious dream he once shared, a vision of lands bathed in golden light, a symbol he never fully explained. Even the greatest conquerors held such moments of quiet contemplation where the world seemed safe and still. You exhale, allowing the calm of the town to settle over your shoulders, carrying centuries of serene rhythm with it. You wander toward a small fountain tucked into a shaded square where water spills softly over moss-covered stone, catching the fading sunlight in delicate glimmers. Leaning closer, you dip your fingers into the cool, flowing water, feeling its gentle resistance as it ripples around your touch, calming your mind and centering your thoughts. Nearby, olive leaves whisper in the breeze, adding a subtle rustle to the soft murmur of the fountain, forming a quiet symphony that invites slow, mindful breathing. Each sound, movement, and shimmer seems to pause time, encouraging careful observation of the present. You reflect that much of history is woven through such unnoticed moments, the small, formative instants that escape grand chronicles yet quietly shape lives. Alexander, celebrated for sweeping victories, also cherished these tranquil interludes, brief, introspective pauses, subtle observations, and fleeting joys that strengthened his awareness and patience, quietly influencing his actions and decisions in ways often hidden from the records. Night deepens, and shadows of ancient towers blend with the dimming sky. The last glimmers of sunlight linger on worn stone, tracing grooves pressed by countless footsteps over the centuries. A soft breeze stirs the leaves, carrying whispers that feel like half-remembered memories. You imagine Alexander beneath these same skies, pondering horizons yet unseen, while the town exhales in collective calm. Sitting on a smooth stone bench, you feel the evening's pulse, observing the subtle humor in a bird skimming water or a cat chasing shadows. Perhaps this is what builds resilience, the ability to notice small joys quietly amidst immense responsibility. As stars begin to twinkle in the twilight, the first night birds stir softly, and the town exhales with a measured, calming rhythm. Your gaze drifts to the distant mountains, fading into gentle darkness, and a quiet chuckle escapes your lips, imagining Alexander noticing life's small, unpredictable joys. Perhaps one day, these serene evenings, the subtle touches of calm, the whispered moments of reflection, will be remembered as fondly as grand victories. You sigh, feeling the soft hush of Macedonia envelop you like a warm, gentle blanket, its quiet embrace guiding you into the slow, peaceful rhythm of night, inviting rest, reflection, and a serene mind ready to drift into gentle sleep. You awaken slowly to the gentle morning light spilling across Pella, its golden rays filtering through narrow streets and archways, bathing the town in soft warmth. The smooth cobblestones beneath your feet feel faintly cool, grounding you as the day stretches gradually awake. A distant trickle of water from stone channels drifts to your ears like a quiet melody, harmonizing with the subtle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Birds hop along rooftops, wings catching sunlight, chirping in soft, measured conversation. You inhale deeply, savoring the mingling scents of fresh dew, warm earth, and faint hints of baking bread. Somewhere nearby, a cat yawns lazily on a ledge, stretching slowly, as if reminding you that mornings are meant to be gentle and unhurried. As you wander the streets, the architecture reveals centuries of care. Stone walls smoothed by countless footsteps, moss-clad rooftops catching the light, and sun-bleached tiles reflecting warmth. You imagine young Alexander walking these paths, curiosity tugging him gently in every direction. Pella, the capital of Macedonia, thrived quietly as a center of culture and learning, where ambitions and daily life intertwined. You pause near a small garden, observing herbs swaying in the soft breeze, rosemary, thyme, and lavender. Their calming fragrance grounds your attention, and you picture Alexander lingering here, savoring the small serenity of home before the world called. Perhaps a quiet chuckle escapes you at the thought that even kings pause to enjoy lavender without pondering empires. Moving past the central square, the day's rhythm unfolds softly. Market carts rest in silent readiness, pottery glinting in the warm light. Children step carefully between stalls, their laughter gentle and melodic, blending with the occasional soft clink of utensils and distant footfalls. Water glides over worn stones in a small fountain, producing a calming murmur that intertwines with the town's waking sounds. You dip your fingers into the cool water, feeling its gentle resistance, while a bird lands delicately on the fountain's edge, pecking at a stray seed. The quiet choreography of life, human, animal, and nature, encourages slow observation, playful attention, and a deep, reflective calm that seems to stretch time itself. You wander down a narrow lane where sunlight filters through low-hanging branches, casting gentle, slanted beams across the stone path. Olive trees line the way, their leaves whispering softly with each passing breeze, while shifting shadows create delicate patterns that seem almost intentional. Faded carvings along the walls catch your eye, cryptic symbols left by hands long gone, their meanings mostly forgotten. Some remain mysterious even today, quietly reminding you that history holds secrets for those who move slowly enough to notice. You imagine young Alexander tracing the edges of these carvings with his fingers, pondering hidden stories embedded in the stones. A soft chuckle escapes you at the thought that even the greatest conquerors paused for curiosity. The scent of freshly baked bread grows stronger as you near the edge of town, mingling with the quiet murmur of neighbors exchanging morning greetings. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, carrying warmth and the comforting aroma of hearths tended for generations. A small dog stretches and shakes its fur nearby, a playful reminder that life continues in gentle, unhurried ways. Morning dew clings to flower petals in a courtyard, each droplet catching the light like tiny crystals. Breathing deeply, you absorb the calm energy of the town, imagining Alexander experiencing the same sights, scents, and rhythms. Passing the town square, your eyes drift to softly rolling hills bathed in early sunlight. The slopes invite slow exploration, with patches of wildflowers, flitting birds, and leaves swaying in the breeze. You picture Alexander pausing on a hilltop, surveying his city and countryside, savoring a moment of peace before the weight of leadership arrived. You smile, imagining him quietly enjoying the antics of birds and animals, feeling the lightness of life amidst the gravity of history, a reminder that even kings cherish calm, reflective moments. You walk along a small, sunlit path that wends toward the outskirts of the town, noticing tiny gardens tucked into alcoves between homes. The scent of flowers and herbs mixes with the faint aroma of baking bread and wood smoke, creating a heady, comforting atmosphere. You pause to admire a patch of lavender, its soft purple petals glowing in the sunlight, and watch as bees hover lazily, collecting nectar in unhurried diligence. Somewhere nearby, a gentle breeze lifts her hair and carries the quiet laughter of children playing among the alleys, a rhythm of life that flows seamlessly into the serenity of the morning. You might chuckle, thinking how even in centuries past, mornings had the same gentle joys, unhurried and simple, waiting to be noticed. The sun climbs higher, casting a warm glow over the town and illuminating the hills beyond. You notice distant mountains with peaks softened by early haze, and the gentle wind carries the faint rustle of trees, a sound that feels as timeless as it is calming. You pause at a small fountain, letting your fingers glide through the cool water, listening to the gentle murmur as it blends with the quiet sounds of the town awakening. Somewhere along the edge of the plaza, a cat stretches luxuriously, blinking slowly at the sunlight, reminding you that even creatures know the joy of slow, mindful movement. You smile quietly at the thought, savoring the harmony of life, noticing that each detail, the sun, the stones, the birds, the laughter, is a small, interconnected piece of the calm mosaic around you. Finally, you walk toward a shaded grove at the edge of the town, where olive trees sway softly in the morning breeze. The ground is cool beneath your feet, and the light filters through the leaves, creating dancing patterns across the soil. You pause, breathing deeply, letting the serenity of Pella settle gently into your body and mind. You imagine Alexander walking here, feeling the sun on his shoulders and the cool shade on his face, learning the subtle balance between observation, patience, and quiet delight. You realize that even the most remarkable figures of history experience these gentle, Slow mornings, moments of peace that allowed them to dream, reflect, and gather quiet strength. And as you step lightly back toward the town center, you feel the calm flow through you, a reminder that the world always holds pockets of serenity, waiting for those willing to slow down and notice. You step gently through the soft morning light, bathing Macedonia in a warm, golden glow. The air is cool and inviting, carrying the subtle sense of dew-soaked earth and nearby herbs. Along cobblestone streets, the gentle murmur of water flowing through stone channels mixes with the rustle of leaves in a light breeze. Nearby, horses' hooves clip-clop quietly as handlers guide them with care, and you feel the faint vibration beneath your feet, a slow, meditative rhythm encouraging unhurried steps. Even as the day holds great significance, the atmosphere remains calm and deliberate, and you might quietly smile at how small joys persist amid monumental tasks, unnoticed yet soothing. Walking past tents and encampments, you observe soldiers moving with gentle precision. They adjust leather straps, polish glinting armor, and align their gear with deliberate care. Sunlight catches the edges of helmets, creating a soft sparkle across the camp. Time seems to stretch, honoring the quiet choreography of preparation. A horse snorts softly, flicking its tail, reminding you that life continues with playful unpredictability, even amid meticulous planning. You imagine Alexander walking among these men, his attention calm yet keen, noticing details others might miss, the way morning light reflects off polished armor, the rhythm of hooves on earth, and the gentle sway of tents in the breeze. You smile softly, picturing him appreciating these subtleties before the day's demands require decisive action. The camp stretches across a gentle slope, each tent arranged thoughtfully and glowing in the soft morning sun. You wander among them, noticing the muted hum of activity, hushed voices, leather creaking as straps tighten, and the faint metallic tinkle of buckles. The rhythm of preparation feels soothing, like the gentle pulse of the earth itself. A small fountain tucked near one tent murmurs softly as water flows over worn stone, blending with distant footsteps and quiet conversation. You pause, dipping your fingers into the cool, smooth water, feeling its subtle resistance, and imagining Alexander sensing the calm weight of responsibility in these early hours. Perhaps a bird lands on the fountain's edge, wings catching sunlight, adding a tiny note of whimsy to the serene scene. Continuing your walk, you approach a cluster of horses being brushed and tended. Their soft breaths rise in faint clouds, and the rhythmic tap of hooves against packed earth creates a calming percussion. Soldiers move methodically, checking every strap, every piece of tack. The animals sway gently, ears flicking, tails brushing softly, aware of the quiet anticipation filling the camp. The care with which they are handled brings peace, a reminder that preparation blends attentiveness with compassion. Somewhere in the distance, a cat stretches lazily across a sunlit wall, observing with mild amusement. You chuckle softly, imagining even animals enjoy the human diligence on display. Historical notes tell us that Alexander often studied the skies before campaigns, observing stars and clouds for guidance. You imagine him pausing on a low hill, tracing patterns in clouds, feeling sunlight warm his shoulders. Perhaps he notices subtle shifts of light across distant hills, shadows stretching and contracting as the day unfolds, quietly storing these observations. You move lightly along the path, sensing a shared patience, a calm attentiveness mirrored in every action around you. Sunlight rises higher, illuminating corners of the camp in amber light, as if the entire place breathes in gentle rhythm with you. Nearby, tables hold maps marked with faint lines and symbols. You imagine Alexander studying them with serene focus, tracing routes with steady fingers, aware of terrain and troop movements, while remaining fully present in the moment. A breeze lifts the edge of a paper, teasing a small adjustment, and you picture a soft, private chuckle at the gentle imperfection. Soldiers adjust spears and shields with unhurried care. The pace remains deliberate, almost ceremonial, honoring the unfolding day. Even amid history's weight, there is space for quiet observation, subtle humor, and small acts that bind preparation together. Beyond the camp, the landscape stretches in soft curves, rolling hills, olive groves, and fields shimmering in gentle sunlight. You pause, admiring patterns of shadows, the sway of leaves, and the glimmer of a distant stream. Approaching a cluster of wildflowers at the path's edge, you inhale their fragrance, letting it mingle with the scents of earth and polished leather. Soldiers move slowly, horses are tended with care, and armor is brushed with deliberate patience. Each detail contributes to a harmonious rhythm, both soothing and purposeful. A bird flits lazily among the trees, adding a playful note to the morning's symphony, reminding you of life's quiet humor. You continue along a gentle rise overlooking the camp. Golden light spills across tents and troops, shadows stretching and bending with the day. A distant horse whinnies softly, blending with the murmurs of preparation, forming a meditative cadence. You imagine Alexander walking this panorama, noting glints of sun on armor, rustling leaves, and deliberate movements of his men. Perhaps he smiles at small unpredictabilities. A horse shifting weight, a strap needing adjustment, or a bird flapping overhead. The hills beyond are soft and inviting, dotted with olive trees and wildflowers. The breeze carries scents of herbs, and distant water. You inhale slowly, letting each breath anchor calm presence. Soldiers polish spearheads carefully, sunlight warming the steel. A cat stretches on a sunlit wall, observing the choreography. The world pulses slowly, a living rhythm of preparation and reflection, mirroring Alexander's thoughtful care. Finally, you reach a fountain at the camp's center, water flowing smoothly over worn stone. You dip your fingers, feeling gentle ripples, while a bird lands nearby, pecking delicately at a seed. You imagine Alexander observing the same water, noting its patterns and the patience it teaches. The camp, land, animals, and people all move in gentle synchrony, each action thoughtful and deliberate. As the sun rises fully, bathing the landscape in warm light, the day stretches before you, inviting slow movement, attention to detail, and savoring the calm presence of the world. Horses shift softly, soldiers adjust armor, leaves rustle in the breeze, and water murmurs its gentle song. Walking back to the center, you smile, feeling the steady, deliberate cadence of preparation settle within, a soft rhythm accompanying thoughts and dreams, readying the day's journey with calm and presence. You step softly along the quiet streets of Pella, the early sunlight casting gentle patterns across the worn cobblestones. The air carries a faint scent of dust, herbs, and aged parchment, mingling with the subtle aroma of fresh bread from nearby ovens. Somewhere, water trickles over stone channels, adding a soft, constant murmur to the morning's calm. You pause for a moment, breathing deeply, letting the gentle warmth of the sun and the quiet rhythm of the town settle into your mind. A small bird hops along a windowsill, pausing to chirp softly, as if sharing a secret only the early risers are invited to hear. You smile quietly, feeling that even in bustling streets, moments of serenity exist for those willing to notice. You approach a library tucked within a narrow courtyard, its heavy wooden doors carved with worn symbols that hint at stories long forgotten. Pushing them open, you hear the creak of hinges echo faintly, a gentle acknowledgement of your presence. Inside, the air is cool and calm, carrying the soft, dry scent of parchment and leather bindings. Rows of shelves rise gracefully, stacked with scrolls and manuscripts, some leaning as if nodding in welcome to the light drifting through high windows. Dust motes float lazily in the sunbeams, drifting like tiny golden dancers in the air. You step carefully, savoring the quiet, each footfall a soft percussion that blends with the distant rustle of turning pages. Somewhere above, a bird calls softly through an open window, adding a melodic note to the library's calm symphony. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander studied under Aristotle, absorbing knowledge about philosophy, science, and the natural world in places much like this. You imagine him walking these aisles, fingers brushing lightly over scrolls, pausing to examine diagrams of stars or distant lands. Some of these texts have been lost over time, their contents remaining a mystery, leaving only traces in secondary writings. You lean closer to a shelf and imagine what knowledge might have resided there. Strategies of thought, careful reflections on leadership, or perhaps musings on distant cultures. You might chuckle softly at the idea that even great conquerors needed quiet moments to absorb knowledge, far from the clamor of armies and campaigns. You wander further, noticing the soft glow of sunlight illuminating the edges of leather-bound scrolls. The floors creak faintly beneath your steps, blending with the whisper of pages being turned somewhere in the distance. A table holds open scrolls, their parchments slightly curling at the edges, ink faded but still legible. You run your fingers over the surface carefully, imagining the impressions of hands from centuries ago. You sense Alexander here, studying diligently, quietly preparing his mind for challenges ahead. The faint smell of beeswax and candle smoke lingers, comforting and grounding, a subtle reminder of human presence in this quiet, vast space. Candles flicker gently, casting slow-moving shadows on the walls, blending with sunlight in a dance of warm amber hues. The gentle rustle of pages, the faint creak of shelves settling, and the soft murmur of distant voices combine into a soothing rhythm, like the heartbeat of the library itself. Some historians still debate how much influence Aristotle had on Alexander's military strategies, and you imagine those subtle lessons embedded in the very atmosphere, guiding not only thought but the flow of imagination. You pause near a shelf lined with maps and diagrams, picturing Alexander tracing routes with careful fingers, observing stars, terrain, and rivers, letting the world reveal its patterns slowly and deliberately. You step into a small alcove bathed in sunlight, where a single scroll lies open on a low table. Its markings suggest constellations or distant lands, each line inviting careful observation. You imagine Alexander leaning over the parchment, absorbing details with patience, his young mind learning to connect knowledge with the world around him. A bird perches briefly on the windowsill, adding a playful note, and you smile quietly, imagining it as an unlikely companion in these moments of study. Somewhere nearby, a small mouse scurries along the floor, unnoticed yet alive, a subtle reminder that life continues quietly, even in spaces devoted to reflection. The library's calm invites your thoughts to drift. You notice subtle details, the curling edges of scrolls, faint symbols and margins, soft glimmers of sunlight on inked lines. These quiet observations allow you to feel the passage of time differently, slower, deliberate, as if the room itself encourages patience. You might imagine Alexander walking through these aisles, absorbing knowledge, contemplating ethics, and dreaming quietly of distant lands. The room feels alive yet serene, each object and sound contributing to the gentle rhythm, a steady flow of calm that allows you to move at the pace of thought rather than necessity. As you wander toward the exit, sunlight spills through the doorway, long soft beams warming your face. You take a slow breath, carrying the library's quiet into your mind, a gentle comfort to accompany you beyond these walls. Outside, the faint hum of Pella greets you again, the rustle of leaves, distant water channels, and the soft murmur of townsfolk beginning their day. You imagine Alexander stepping into sunlight much like this, a young man moving from study to action, carrying the calm lessons of reflection with him. You notice how the light touches rooftops and cobblestones, revealing textures and colors in a soft, delicate glow. The warmth feels gentle on your skin, a subtle reassurance that the day, like the library, unfolds slowly, deliberately, and kindly. You glance back one last time, savoring the calm atmosphere, the soft scent of parchment, the warm play of sunlight and shadow, and the quiet presence of life in its many forms. You sense the wisdom held within these walls, not as a distant or abstract force, but as a gentle companion, encouraging you to observe, reflect, and carry serenity forward. Somewhere nearby, the faint sound of a page turning, a bird's soft call, or a candle flickering reminds you that life continues quietly, even in places devoted to learning. And as you step fully into the open streets once more, you carry with you the calm, the curiosity, and the gentle rhythm of the library, a soft foundation for the next steps of your journey through history. You step gently onto the riverbank, feeling the soft, damp earth beneath your feet. The Danube stretches before you, its surface catching sunlight in rippling patterns that sparkle like liquid silk. A gentle breeze drifts across the water, brushing your cheeks and carrying the faint, calming scent of river plants and damp stone. Reeds sway lightly with the current, and water birds dip gracefully, lifting again with quiet splashes. You pause, letting the subtle hum of moving water and rustling leaves settle your thoughts. Perhaps a soft chuckle escapes at the playful dance of sunlight across the waves, as if the river itself delights in teasing you. Walking slowly along the bank, the landscape unfolds in gentle curves, low hills dotted with wildflowers, patches of olive trees glinting in the sun, and clusters of reeds swaying lazily. The water mirrors the sky, reflecting soft clouds drifting slowly, their shapes shifting imperceptibly. A fish breaks the surface, creating concentric ripples that merge seamlessly with the river's flow. You imagine Alexander standing here centuries ago, observing the same ripples, noting currents, river width, and strategic points along the banks. The peacefulness belies the river's future importance in his campaigns. Sunlight warms your shoulders as air currents brush the water surface. The faint creak of a moored wooden boat, its rope stretching gently, blends with distant bird calls and the soft rustle of reeds. Shadows of nearby trees glide across the river, moving in quiet rhythm with the breeze. You inhale slowly, filling your lungs with fresh, delicate air, feeling the river's tranquil energy infuse your senses. A gentle massage for your mind, encouraging slow reflection, calm awareness, and a soothing connection to the natural world around you. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander paid close attention to rivers and waterways during his campaigns, and the Danube was no exception. You imagine him pausing here, studying the currents and bends, calculating distances, and noticing shallow spots or hidden channels that might affect troop movements. The river's gentle flow, its reflective surface, and its soft whispers must have provided moments of contemplation and clarity, even as grand strategies formed in his mind. You walk slowly along the bank, letting the water's soft rhythm influence your own pace, each step measured, deliberate yet unhurried. The movement of the river mirrors the quiet unfolding of thought, a gentle guide toward observation and understanding. The riverbank is dotted with small clusters of flowers and low shrubs, their colors muted but harmonious under the sun's warmth. You notice tiny insects hovering near blooms, their delicate wings flicking rapidly, adding a faint, almost imperceptible hum to the gentle chorus of nature. Somewhere, a heron lifts gracefully into the air, casting a soft shadow across the river before gliding to a distant bank. You smile quietly, feeling that even these subtle movements participate in a slow, natural choreography that has existed for centuries. Perhaps Alexander watched similar creatures, letting their calm presence remind him that even small, unnoticed details hold lessons in patience and attentiveness. Legends speak softly along the riverbank, tales of mysterious creatures lurking beneath the water's surface. Some locals whispered of serpentine shapes moving in the depths, or glimmers of scales catching sunlight far below. You watch the water carefully, knowing that no one has ever confirmed these stories, yet their presence adds a gentle intrigue to the otherwise serene landscape. You imagine Alexander listening to similar whispers, letting the river's hidden mysteries spark both imagination and curiosity, understanding that not all knowledge is tangible, and some insights come only to those willing to notice the subtle hidden rhythms of the world. You pause near a bend in the river, where the water curves gently around a small grove of trees. Sunlight filters through leaves, casting soft, dancing patterns on the river's surface. The air feels cooler here, carrying a faint aroma of moss and earth. A small breeze rustles the foliage, and you notice the subtle glimmer of tiny insects flicking across sunlit patches of water. You step closer to the edge, listening to the river's gentle hum, letting it wash over your mind like warm liquid, smoothing away tension and opening space for calm reflection. Somewhere along the opposite bank, a family of ducks paddles lazily, leaving delicate ripples that dissolve slowly into the flowing water. You smile softly, appreciating the timeless rhythm of life, uninterrupted and serene. As you continue your slow walk, the river widens slightly, and the sunlight shimmers across gentle waves like hundreds of tiny candles flickering on the surface. You notice the interplay of shadow and light along the banks, the subtle sway of trees mirrored in the water, and the faint glint of distant rocks beneath the river's surface. The calm is almost hypnotic, inviting you to pause and let your mind drift like a leaf floating slowly downstream. Perhaps Alexander once lingered in a similar state, considering not just the practicalities of campaigns, but also the quiet beauty of the world he inhabited. A soft breeze brushes your hair, carrying the faint, sweet scent of distant wildflowers, reminding you that even in times of preparation and strategy, moments of delight are always present. You step toward a sunlit rock near the water, feeling its warmth under your palm. The river reflects soft clouds overhead, drifting lazily, and the gentle current carries subtle patterns of light across the surface. Somewhere nearby, reeds sway, whispering in rhythm with the water's hum, producing a quiet, almost musical cadence. You imagine Alexander walking slowly here, absorbing both nature's tranquility and its strategic lessons, learning patience and awareness from the river's soft guidance. You take a slow, deep breath, letting the water's energy, the gentle sunlight, and the delicate rustling of leaves fill your mind with calm. Finally, you continue along the riverbank, noticing how the landscape shifts gently. Low hills meeting the water's edge, small trees casting long, soft shadows, and the current winding with timeless patience. Somewhere beneath the surface, the stories of unseen creatures linger, whispered only to those who look closely and think deeply. You walk slowly, feeling the Danube's gentle embrace, the rhythmic whisper of its waves echoing softly in your mind. The river's calm presence guides your steps, a reminder that even amid history and strategy, nature's slow, deliberate grace holds space for reflection, serenity, and quiet delight. You walk slowly back toward the camp, the sun dipping low behind the distant hills, casting long, soft shadows across the gently rolling terrain. The air carries a subtle coolness now, mingling with the faint warmth of the earth that has absorbed sunlight throughout the day. You hear the low murmur of soldiers tending to their equipment, the soft creak of leather straps, and the occasional clink of metal, each sound muted, part of the gentle symphony of evening preparations. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its weight, tail flicking lazily, and you smile quietly at the simple, calming rhythm of life. The tents stretch across the encampment, their canvas glowing softly in the amber light. You notice the way the sun reflects on the edges of polished armor, left carefully beside resting men, producing tiny, fleeting sparks that catch your eye. The scent of wood smoke and cooking fires drifts gently through the air, a faint reminder of meals prepared slowly and with care. You step lightly along a path between rows of tents, feeling the soft earth underfoot and the subtle vibrations of life around you. Somewhere, a bird calls quietly, its melody blending with the gentle crackle of fire, as if nature itself is joining in the evening's calm chorus. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander's army would often rest at twilight before important engagements, taking time to organize, reflect, and recover. You imagine him walking among the tents, observing quietly, noting the care with which each soldier maintains his armor and weapon, appreciating the subtle beauty of preparedness and the comfort of routine. Perhaps he pauses to run a hand along the edge of a tent, feeling the texture of canvas worn smooth by use, or to watch a horse's gentle sway, observing the harmony between man and animal. Somewhere nearby, a cat curls softly by a fire, its presence almost meditative, reminding you that peace exists even amid anticipation. The sun slowly descends, painting the sky in golden pink hues that shimmer across the landscape. Shadows stretch and blend, softening the contours of hills, tents, and scattered equipment. You breathe deeply, letting the earthy sense of evening and the warm flicker of firelight settle gently into your senses. Soldiers move with calm, measured rhythm, feeding animals, checking gear, and performing small, mysterious rituals meant to preserve luck and morale. Gestures noted in historical accounts, but still unexplained. You imagine Alexander observing quietly, understanding the significance in these deliberate, subtle acts. Walking toward a small clearing at the camp's edge, you see fires glowing softly against the dusk. Smoke drifts lazily upward, carrying faint scents of herbs and roasting food that mingle with the evening breeze. The subdued laughter of soldiers drifts from nearby tents, harmonizing with natural night sounds. Water trickles from a nearby stream, blending with the gentle crackle of firewood. You pause, breathing deeply, letting the layered sensations, the warmth, the scents, the soft noises calm your mind. The encampment feels like a living organism, each part moving gently in synchrony, radiating a serene, meditative energy across the plain. The hills beyond the camp soften into shades of purple and deep blue as twilight deepens. You notice small silhouettes of horses grazing quietly, heads bent, tails flicking, and a gentle breeze rustling the leaves of scattered trees. The sky above shifts gradually, blending soft hues with the first hints of stars, a delicate transition from day to night. You imagine Alexander taking in the view from a slight rise, reflecting on the day's journey, the layout of the land, and the calm before the anticipated challenges. There is a stillness here that feels almost sacred, a moment suspended in time, where preparation and reflection coexist in quiet harmony. You move past rows of tents where soldiers settle on soft blankets or lean against carefully stacked packs. Each movement is deliberate, unhurried, a subtle choreography of rest and care. Somewhere, a candle flickers, casting tiny dancing shadows that seem to join the river of light flowing from the fading sun. You notice the faint hum of conversation, soft and measured, the exchange of stories and observations whispered against the backdrop of chirping insects and the gentle rustle of leaves. Even amidst the subtle anticipation of future events, there is a sense of calm cohesion, an invisible thread linking each soul and creature in the camp together. As the sun dips lower, a gentle pink glow spills across the horizon, reflected in the folds of tents and the smooth backs of resting horses. You pause near a small fountain where water trickles gently, creating ripples that catch the remaining sunlight in fleeting sparkles. Somewhere in the distance, a bird takes flight, gliding gracefully before disappearing into the emerging shadows. The sounds of the camp soften further as evening settles fully, the subtle rustle of movement blending with the distant murmur of water and the whisper of wind through scattered trees. You inhale slowly, feeling the gentle energy of twilight wrap around you like a soft blanket. Historical sources note that Alexander would often walk quietly through his encampment at twilight, absorbing the stillness, observing his soldiers, and reflecting on his plans. Perhaps he watched small flames flicker in the dusk, noticing the way light and shadow danced together, appreciating the calm presence surrounding him. Somewhere, a soldier quietly hummed a tune, a faint note of humanity threading through the gentle chorus of evening activity. The combination of natural beauty, soft motion, and human ritual creates a serene tapestry, one that invites you to slow your thoughts and feel the world move at a gentle, deliberate pace. Finally, as night begins to settle fully, the last warm colors of twilight fade, leaving the encampment bathed in a soft, muted glow. The fires crackle gently, shadows stretch long, and the breeze carries the subtle mix of scents from earth, water, and smoke. You pause on a small rise, looking out across the camp, feeling the calm pulse of life beneath you. Horses rest, soldiers quietly settle, and the world seems to exhale softly, preparing for the embrace of night. Somewhere beneath the surface, the mysterious rituals and whispered superstitions linger quietly, small threads of history woven into the serene fabric of twilight. You feel the calm energy of this moment settling into your mind, soft and steady, preparing you for gentle rest, reflection, and the quiet anticipation of tomorrow's journey. You walk slowly along a quiet path that leads toward the open plains of Gaugamela. The air has cooled gently, carrying the faint scent of grass and earth, mixed with the subtle aroma of distant campfires. The sky above deepens into a soft indigo, and the first stars begin to shimmer faintly, delicate points of light scattered like tiny gems across velvet. You pause for a moment, letting the stillness of the approaching night settle over you, and feel a calm connection to the vast, open expanse surrounding the plains. Somewhere in the distance, a soft breeze moves through sparse trees, rustling leaves in a soothing rhythm that seems in perfect harmony with the gentle hum of the evening. The vastness of the plains stretches before you, rolling softly into the distance. Shadows of distant hills blend into the deepening night, while the faint glow of fires scattered across the encampment glimmers like tiny stars mirrored on the ground. You notice the silhouettes of soldiers and horses, moving slowly and deliberately, their shapes softened by the dim light. Each motion is quiet, composed, almost meditative, as if the plain itself encourages a gentle rhythm of observation and care. Somewhere nearby, a small stream glints faintly in the starlight, its murmuring water adding another layer to the soft symphony of night sounds. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander carefully observed the terrain at night, taking note of natural features that might aid his strategies. You imagine him walking along the edges of the plain, tracing the outlines of hills and streams, sensing patterns in the land and the subtle shifts of light and shadow. Perhaps he pauses to watch how the stars reflect on pools of water, or how the wind stirs the grass in soft, predictable waves. You step lightly beside him, absorbing the same quiet lessons of patience and attention, aware that even in preparation for monumental events, the world offers countless moments of gentle observation. The stars above shine steadily, scattered across the sky in constellations that feel familiar yet mysterious. You notice a faint streak of light, a shooting star moving slowly and deliberately across the heavens. Somewhere, the wind carries the faint scent of distant herbs and dry grass, mingling with the cooler night air. You breathe deeply, letting the tranquility of the open plains settle into your mind and shoulders. The soft glow of fires below, combined with the quiet brilliance of stars above, produces a gentle contrast of light and shadow that soothes your senses and slows the rhythm of your thoughts. Legends speak softly of the plains, where strange creatures are glimpsed only by those wandering alone at night. Some whispers describe distant shadows moving unexpectedly, or the faint shimmer of unknown animals under starlight. You watch the horizon, imagining the plains alive with quiet mysteries, letting curiosity flow gently alongside a calm awareness. Alexander, too, likely noticed subtle features of the terrain, how a hill casts a long shadow, or how a shallow depression catches the glow of distant fires. These small observations, easily missed, may have quietly influenced his later strategies, leaving hints still woven into historical speculation. You pause on a gentle rise, where the grass sways softly in the breeze. The stars above feel close, and dew glimmers faintly on blades of grass, each droplet reflecting starlight like tiny prisms. Nearby, a horse shifts its weight, tail flicking lazily, while the soft rustle of fabric and leather marks soldiers moving quietly across the field. The calm of the plains settles into your mind, a soothing reminder of the slow, deliberate rhythm of observation. Perhaps Alexander stood here long ago, absorbing subtle cues from the world, feeling both the vastness of the plains and the quiet intimacy of thoughtful attention, letting the night's gentle energy guide reflection and presence. The gentle sway of grass and the soft whisper of wind create a steady, calming rhythm, echoing the movement of water and leaves from earlier journeys. You notice tiny stars reflected in puddles or shallow streams, a delicate mirror of the night sky that encourage you to pause and breathe slowly. The expanse of Gaugamela feels endless yet intimate, as if the world itself is slowed to invite careful attention. You move slowly, letting your gaze drift across the plains, the fires, and the distant silhouettes of soldiers and animals, all part of a quiet, meditative choreography under the night sky. Historical records note that Alexander would often contemplate the stars before major engagements, noting their positions and patterns. You imagine him standing quietly, considering constellations and reflecting on lessons of strategy, timing, and movement. The night air is filled with soft sounds, wind, water, distant footsteps, and the occasional low murmur of camp activity, each blending into a soothing symphony that carries you gently forward. Somewhere, a small owl calls faintly from a distant tree, its voice a calm punctuation in the evening stillness. You smile softly, letting your attention move gently between sky and plain, feeling both grounded and expansive at once. The first hints of the Milky Way stretch across the sky, faint but discernible, a luminous river of light that mirrors the gentle curves of the plains below. You notice the faint shimmer of dew on rocks and grass, the way shadows bend softly over low hills, and the gentle ripple of distant water. Somewhere nearby, a faint breeze stirs, carrying a soft rustling sound that blends with the subtle murmur of the plain. The stars above and the quiet world below seem to move in harmony, a slow, deliberate rhythm that calms the mind and nourishes reflection. As you take one last slow step across the plain, you feel the expansive calm of the night settle fully around you. The stars shimmer steadily above, the fires glow faintly in the distance, and the gentle rhythm of wind through grass and leaves creates a natural lullaby. You imagine Alexander standing here long ago, absorbing the quiet wisdom of the plains and the stars, preparing not only for strategy, but for the patience and attentiveness that would guide his journey. Somewhere beneath the surface, the whispered legends of the plains linger quietly, small mysteries that encourage curiosity without urgency. You breathe deeply, letting the soft calm of Gaugamela settle into your thoughts, preparing you gently for the slow, deliberate rhythm of the days and nights to come. You begin your gentle walk along the soft earth, leading toward the open expanse of the battlefield. The early morning light casts a warm, golden glow across the plains, and the air carries the faint scent of dew, grass, and the subtle warmth of earth, still holding the sun's memory from yesterday. The rhythmic sound of hooves striking the ground softly echoes around you, each step deliberate yet calming. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its weight with a gentle creak of leather and metal, the sound blending with the faint murmur of soldiers preparing for the day ahead. You breathe deeply, letting the serene cadence of movement settle into your mind, a gentle meditation for the senses. The soldiers move slowly, their steps measured, the soft rustle of tunics and light clinking of armor creating a soothing, steady rhythm. You notice how the morning sun glints softly against polished weapons, producing tiny flashes that sparkle like quiet stars across the earth. The lines of the army stretch into the distance, orderly yet calm, each formation moving with careful intention. Somewhere along the path, a small bird flutters between low shrubs, adding a delicate, natural punctuation to the gentle symphony of human and animal presence. You smile softly, appreciating how even in preparation for monumental events, life maintains a gentle, persistent rhythm. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander and his forces marched deliberately toward Gaugamela, observing the terrain and noting subtle features of the land. You imagine him walking slowly along the ranks, noting the contours of hills, the course of streams, and the subtle bends of paths that might influence future movements. The plain stretches expansively before you, dotted with gentle rises and small patches of wildflowers, their colors softened by the morning light. You pause briefly, letting the soft murmur of wind through the grass and the distant sound of water merge into a quiet, meditative background for your thoughts. You notice the fine details of the soldiers' movements, the careful care of leather straps, the gentle padding of horses' flanks, the soft adjustments of shields and armor. Each motion is deliberate, as if the world itself slows to accommodate careful observation. Somewhere, a soldier pauses to adjust a helmet, the faint metallic clink blending with the subtle hum of activity around him. The calmness of these actions, coupled with the wide, open expanse of the plain, encourages you to move slowly, noticing textures, colors, and sounds that might otherwise be overlooked. Even the smallest motions, the sway of a pack, the blink of sunlight on metal, contribute to the gentle rhythm of the march. As you continue along the soft, undulating ground, the early sunlight warms your shoulders, and the gentle breeze carries faint scents of distant wildflowers and river water. You see how the soldiers' formations blend with the rolling plains, creating patterns that are both orderly and peaceful, an unexpected harmony of human effort and natural beauty. Somewhere in the distance, a small stream glimmers softly, reflecting the sun's light like a river of gold winding through the grass. You pause to watch the delicate ripple of water, the subtle curve of the terrain, and the quiet activity of horses and men moving in unison. The plain feels alive, yet tranquil, a space that encourages observation, reflection, and slow appreciation. Legends of the area whisper softly, telling of creatures that dwell unseen in the grasses or beneath shallow streams. Some stories speak of shadows that move in unexpected ways, or of faint glimmers that vanish as quickly as they appear. You walk attentively, imagining Alexander noticing these subtle hints, allowing the mysteries of the plain to inform his awareness and strategy. The gentle murmur of wind, the soft clink of armor, and the occasional flutter of birds create a rhythm that encourages a slow, deliberate pace, blending observation with calm reflection. The sun climbs higher, and shadows shift softly across the rolling plains. You notice the subtle interplay of light on hills, rocks, and tents scattered in the distance, the warm hues enhancing textures and contours. Somewhere nearby, a horse snorts softly, shaking its mane in a graceful arc, and the faint scent of straw and leather mingles with the fresh morning air. You walk slowly beside the troops, letting the soft rhythm of their movement and the gentle cadence of hooves guide your own pace. There is no urgency here, only the deliberate unfolding of time, the careful integration of body, mind, and the landscape around you. Historical sources tell us that Alexander often moved quietly among his men, observing without interruption, noting small details that others might overlook. You imagine him pausing to study the curve of a riverbank, the position of a hill, or the sway of grass in the wind, integrating each observation into a subtle understanding of the terrain. The soft murmur of activity around you, the brushing of hands on leather, the shifting of packs, the occasional soft call blends with the natural rhythm of wind and birdsong, creating a gentle, harmonious environment for reflection. As you approach the central plain, the landscape opens fully before you, grass swaying softly, sunlight scattering across gentle hills, and distant streams glimmering faintly. The army moves with calm precision, each soldier, horse, and piece of equipment contributing to a quiet, synchronized rhythm. Small mysteries linger beneath the surface, subtle patterns in the grass, whispers of wind across shallow depressions, and faint traces of history embedded in the land. You breathe slowly, allowing the soft energy of the plains and the measured pace of the march to settle into your mind, fostering reflection and gentle awareness. Pausing on a small rise, you look out over the field where the army stretches across the terrain. Warm sunlight bathes the plain, shadows lengthen gradually, and the breeze flows softly through grass and leaves. Dew glimmers delicately, horses sway gently, and soldiers move with quiet deliberation. The scene forms a steady, meditative cadence that unites human activity with the serene presence of nature. You inhale slowly, feeling the expansive calm, the subtle lessons of observation, and the gentle pulse of history infusing your mind. As the march continues softly, carrying both body and spirit forward into the tranquil rhythm of the plains. You step quietly onto the soft earth of the plain, the first pale light of dawn stretching across the horizon in gentle pink and gold hues. The air is cool and still, carrying the faint scent of dew on grass, warm soil, and distant smoke from small fires flickering softly among the camp. Somewhere nearby, horses shift lightly, their hooves pressing into the damp earth with a delicate rhythm, blending seamlessly with the faint rustle of soldiers moving slowly through the quiet morning. The gentle warmth of the rising sun brushes against your skin, a calm promise of day unfolding with patience and care. The vast plains of Gaugamela spread before you, rolling gently into the distance, interrupted only by small rises and scattered shrubs. You notice rows of soldiers, their movements slow and measured, creating soft, rhythmic patterns across the expansive field. The sunlight catches lightly on polished armor and weaponry, producing a gentle sparkle that glimmers like tiny stars. Along the horizon, somewhere, a bird lifts into the morning air, wings flapping softly, its shadow drifting across the grass. You inhale slowly, allowing the quiet, expansive calm of the plain to settle into your mind. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander faced an immense Persian army at Gaugamela, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. You imagine the sheer scale of the plains stretching before him, soldiers and cavalry moving like rippling waves across soft hills. Despite the enormous forces gathered, the atmosphere at dawn feels calm, almost meditative, as each man and horse adjusts, prepares, and waits. You notice the subtle details, the gentle sway of banners in the morning breeze, the faint shimmer of dew on blades of grass, the soft glimmer of sunlight on helmets, as if the world itself pauses to breathe with the unfolding day dot as you walk. Slowly along the edge of the plain, the patterns of the army become more apparent. Phalanx formations move with deliberate care, horses shift gracefully beside riders, and the faint sounds of leather, metal, and fabric blend into a soothing, continuous rhythm. Somewhere, a small stream catches the light, reflecting the pale pinks and soft blues of the dawn sky. The quiet interplay of earth, water, and human movement creates a gentle, meditative tapestry that encourages slow observation and thoughtful reflection. You might smile softly at the thought that even amid preparations for monumental events, the world allows for moments of serene beauty. Legends speak of subtle anomalies across these plains, mysterious impressions in the soil, or faint, unexplained ripples in the grass where strange shapes were seen long ago. You walk attentively, imagining Alexander noticing such minute details, allowing these quiet, almost imperceptible signs to inform his awareness of the terrain. Perhaps he paused to study the gentle curve of a hill, the flow of a stream, or position of scattered rocks, absorbing every subtle cue that might guide him later. You step lightly, feeling the calm, expansive rhythm of the plain echo in your own breathing, grounding you in the soft, meditative morning. The light grows gradually stronger, revealing gentle undulations in the field, small clusters of wildflowers, and horses grazing softly in scattered groups. Somewhere nearby, soldiers adjust armor and reins, their movements unhurried, blending seamlessly with the slow pulse of nature. The interplay of sun, shadow, and dew creates a delicate mosaic on the earth, inviting your gaze to wander slowly. And with care, you notice a faint shimmer in a puddle, where the reflection of early clouds ripples with the subtle motion of water. Every detail, however small, contributes to a quiet awareness that stretches across time. Connecting the present to the echoes of history. Historical accounts suggest that some records of the battle vary, leaving the exact numbers of troops and formations a matter of debate. You imagine Alexander walking along the soft morning earth, observing both men and horses, noting the symmetry of formations and the gentle swell of distant hills. The plain seems alive in its calm, the combination of human preparation and natural detail, creating a space where thought, observation, and serenity coexist. You breathe slowly, letting your senses absorb the subtle sounds, distant murmurs, soft clinks of metal, the gentle sway of horses' tails, and the rhythmic rustle of the wind through grass. You step to a slight rise, feeling the soft incline beneath your feet. From here, the expanse stretches seemingly endlessly, dew glinting on every blade of grass, sunlight tracing the edges of tents, and distant banners catching a faint breeze. Somewhere, a bird calls softly, its song merging with the gentle hum of morning activity. You pause to reflect on the quiet rhythm of this space, noticing how each motion, each breath of wind, and each shifting shadow contributes to the slow unfolding of the day. The plains feel timeless, as if every soft sound and gentle movement has been repeated for centuries, waiting for someone to notice. As the dawn light strengthens, you see the faint shimmer of movement across the plain there. Gentle stir of soldiers, horses shifting weight, banners lifting slightly in the breeze. The air is cool yet comforting, carrying faint scents of grass, earth, and soft smoke. Somewhere, dew-laden grass bends under your touch, returning to its upright position with delicate resilience. You feel the calm pulse of history here, a gentle rhythm that links observation, patience, and reflection. Alexander himself might have stood in such stillness, absorbing every subtle cue, allowing the gentle dawn to guide both thought and intuition. At last, as the sun rises higher, the quiet majesty of the plain unfolds fully. Soft light spills across the rolling hills, dew sparkles delicately on blades of grass, and distant banners flutter gently in the morning breeze. You inhale slowly, feeling the calm expand around you, the gentle pulse of movement in every subtle action, and the quiet anticipation that stretches across both people and animals. Every sound, every shimmer of light, every small motion blends into a harmonious rhythm, inviting reflective awareness. The plains of Gaugamela embrace you in their serene cadence, a gentle space where observation and contemplation flow effortlessly, like the soft morning light spreading across the landscape. Here, both mind and body find ease, settling into the measured, soothing energy of the awakening day, preparing gently for the journey that lies ahead. You walk slowly along the gentle rise overlooking the plain, the soft sunlight spilling across the landscape in warm, golden streams. The air is calm and steady, carrying the faint scent of dry grass and earth warmed by early rays. The soldiers below move deliberately, adjusting armor, tending horses, and maintaining quiet readiness. Each motion blends with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant murmurs of preparation, creating a rhythm that encourages gentle observation and thoughtful reflection. Somewhere, a bird flits from one low tree to another, its wings catching the sunlight briefly, a delicate punctuation in the soft morning symphony. The plain stretches endlessly before you, dotted with formations of infantry and cavalry, arranged with careful precision. Historical accounts tell us that Alexander organized his troops with meticulous attention to terrain and spacing, balancing phalanx formations with mobile cavalry. You imagine him walking slowly along the line, noting each subtle shift in posture, each glint of polished metal, and the gentle sway of banners lifted by a soft breeze. The sun warms your shoulders as you move, its light reflecting off armor and creating a muted shimmer that seems almost meditative in its slow, steady play. Alexander's strategy at Gaugamela relied on careful observation and the anticipation of movement. You can picture him pausing at a slight rise, tracing the curves of hills and shallow depressions, noting where water channels might affect passage and where the gentle slope of the land could guide cavalry maneuvers. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its weight, hooves pressing into dew-laden earth, a subtle creak of leather blending with the soft murmur of soldiers. You notice the delicate interplay of light and shadow across the plain, observing how subtle changes in terrain could inform careful planning. It is a rhythm of thought that is both deliberate and soothing, inviting your mind to move slowly along with the landscape. The sunlight falls softly over the folds of the plain, highlighting the gentle undulations and small rises that might otherwise go unnoticed. You imagine Alexander walking among the soldiers, his presence calm yet observant, eyes following the quiet movements and patterns of the army below. Somewhere, a breeze stirs the grass, creating waves of green that mirror the slow motion of cavalry drilling in place. You take a deep breath, letting the calm energy of the morning infuse your senses, noting the subtle scent of leather, metal, and sun-warmed earth, blending seamlessly with the faint aroma of nearby wildflowers. Legends and historical notes speak gently of Alexander's mindful attention to subtle, often overlooked details that could influence the course of events. You imagine him observing the soft glint of sunlight on a distant stream, the gentle curve of a hill that might conceal or reveal movement, or the faint, almost imperceptible tracks left by animals crossing the plain. Each small observation, delicate and fleeting, feeds into a quiet understanding of the land, guiding decisions with awareness, patience, and thoughtful flexibility. Beneath the calm rhythm of preparation, the plain itself seems to whisper softly shadows, shifting subtly, grasses bending in the breeze, and the faint movement of distant water forming gentle cues that Alexander notices and interprets. These understated signs, integrated into his reflective consideration, create a meditative harmony of observation and strategy. You feel the serene cadence of the plain, the subtle interplay of light, motion, and intuition, inviting slow footsteps, deep breaths, and a quiet, attentive presence within the landscape. You walk slowly along a line of cavalry, noting how each horse shifts gently beneath its rider. The soft touch of reins, the gentle clink of metal, and the measured steps of hooves all create a quiet cadence that harmonizes with the subtle rustling of grass. Historical sources note that Alexander frequently reviewed his troop formations. In such calm settings, using the soft light and quiet of morning to contemplate movement, balance, and the integration of infantry and cavalry. Somewhere nearby, a soldier pauses to adjust a strap, a small gesture that adds to the rhythm of the morning, unnoticed but integral to the subtle harmony of preparation. The sun climbs higher, casting a gentle warmth across the plain and softening the distant hills with a tender glow. As you walk slowly, you begin to notice subtle patterns emerging among the terrain and movements, small openings that allow flexibility, concentrated points suggesting potential maneuver, and delicate shifts in posture and alignment among soldiers and horses. You imagine Alexander observing each detail with calm focus, integrating sensory impressions, intuition, and experience into a quiet, almost meditative reflection on strategy. Somewhere nearby, a bird calls softly, its song echoing across the expansive plain, blending harmoniously with the faint chorus of distant voices, the gentle clink of armor, and the muted rhythm of moving hooves. The interplay of these sounds, combined with the warm sunlight and undulating landscape, creates a serene, reflective atmosphere. Every detail invites you to slow your pace, breathe deeply, and absorb the calm, measured energy of the scene. Historians still debate the exact maneuvers Alexander used at Gaugamela, yet it is clear that his attention to subtle cues, terrain, and timing played a vital role. You imagine him walking slowly, tracing the slope of a hill, following the path of a shallow stream, or noting the gentle rise of a ridge in the distance. Each observation contributes quietly to the grand strategy, while the soft cadence of the plain continues, a gentle reminder that observation and patience are as vital as action. You step lightly along a slight rise, feeling the gentle give of earth beneath your feet, and notice how the morning light shifts slowly, tracing subtle patterns across horses, soldiers, and grass. Finally, as the sunlight bathes the plain fully, the soft rhythm of preparation, observation, and careful thought continues. The soldiers below move with gentle purpose, horses shift lazily, and the banners sway softly in the breeze. You feel the calm energy of the morning settle into your mind, a slow, deliberate pulse that mirrors the careful integration of strategy and observation that Alexander practiced. Somewhere in the quiet folds of the plain, the mysteries of terrain, light, and movement linger gently, a subtle reminder that patience, attention, and gentle awareness guide even the grandest plans. You breathe slowly, letting the soft warmth, rhythmic movement, and expansive calm of the plain envelop your senses, preparing for the continued unfolding of the day in quiet, reflective harmony. You wander slowly along the gentle slopes of rolling hills, the rising sun warming the earth and filling the air with a comforting scent of grass and dry soil. The hills undulate softly, guiding your steps along their natural curves and inviting a measured, unhurried pace. Nearby, the faint clip of hooves blends with the soft rustle of soldiers moving carefully through the terrain, their actions calm, deliberate, and composed. Each subtle sound, each quiet motion, contributes to a soothing rhythm that surrounds you. The soft interplay of light, movement, and gentle sound encourage reflection, patience, and a serene awareness of the landscape's tranquil energy. The plain below stretches like a vast tapestry, dotted with formations of infantry and cavalry that appear almost like delicate patterns from this height. Historical accounts note that Alexander frequently surveyed the rolling terrain to ensure his forces were positioned with both flexibility and cohesion. You imagine him moving quietly along the ridges, observing the subtle play of light and shadow. On the ground, noticing how a slight rise might conceal or reveal movement, or how a gentle dip could guide the motion of mounted units. Somewhere a horse shifts under its rider, tail flicking lazily, creating a faint, soothing sound that joins the hum of morning activity. You pause to breathe in the cool, calm air, noticing the faint scent of herbs scattered across the hills and the soft warmth of sunlight bathing your shoulders. Soldiers below adjust their armor and rein slowly, moving as if the world itself has conspired to slow time. Each gesture the careful tightening of a strap, the gentle patting of a horse's flank, the subtle shift of a shield feels deliberate, harmonizing with the natural rhythm of the rolling hills. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls softly, its song blending with the whisper of wind through grass and leaves. You feel a sense of serene continuity here, where human action and natural presence merge seamlessly. Historical records describe Alexander's attention to detail, noting that he often performed final checks of troop formations before major engagements. You can picture him pausing at a gentle rise, tracing the edges of hills and valleys, observing soldiers as they quietly ready themselves. Perhaps he notices small rituals performed by the men, gestures meant to bring luck or calm focus before the day's challenges. Some of these actions remain mysterious, hints preserved in history without full explanation. You step slowly, noticing the subtle undulations in the terrain, how shadows lengthen across the hills, and how the morning light reflects softly on Polished armor and weapons dot the hills, sway gently with the breeze, their curves softening the landscape into a calm, flowing rhythm. You walk along a small path, feeling the subtle give of earth beneath your feet, noticing how dew clings lightly to blades of grass, shimmering in the warm sunlight. Somewhere nearby, a stream winds quietly through a shallow valley, reflecting fragments of sky like liquid mirrors. The combination of soft slopes, gentle water, and measured human activity creates a space that invites reflection, observation, and a slow appreciation of the environment. You allow your thoughts to drift with the contours of the land, feeling connected to the calm pulse of nature and preparation around you. Alexander often observed his troops quietly, noting subtle signs of readiness, energy, and focus. You imagine him standing for a moment atop a hill, observing the interaction of light, shadow, and movement across the rolling terrain. Soldiers adjust formations with gentle precision. Horses shift weight under patient riders, and the soft clinking of metal blends with the rustle of leather and cloth. Somewhere a soldier pauses to check a strap, the sound barely audible, yet adding to the rhythmic layering of morning activity. The hills themselves seem to breathe along with the plain, gentle rises and falls, guiding movement with soft encouragement. Legends suggest that subtle omens were sometimes observed in the hills. A fleeting shadow, the sudden flight of a bird, or the shimmer of dew in unexpected patterns. You step carefully along a gentle incline, imagining Alexander noticing such details, interpreting them with quiet attentiveness rather than urgency. Each small observation becomes part of a larger awareness, a steady, deliberate rhythm that guides movement and thought alike. Somewhere beneath the calm surface of preparation, mysteries linger, softly hinting at the interplay between careful planning and the natural world. You pause near a shallow ridge, gazing across the expanse of the plain below. The sunlight warms the contours of the hills, highlighting gentle curves, patches of wildflowers, and distant banners swaying slowly in the breeze. Soldiers and horses move with measured care, their rhythm syncing subtly with the soft sway of grass and distant trees. You notice how light and shadow interact delicately across the rolling terrain, creating a tapestry that encourages slow observation, quiet thought, and calm reflection. The hills and plains together form a living canvas, one that teaches patience and mindful attention through its gentle presence. Historical accounts suggest that Alexander sometimes performed quiet inspections of his troops in such serene settings, walking along hills and ridges, observing formation, morale, and readiness. You imagine him noticing a subtle shift in a formation, the soft gleam of sunlight on a blade, or the faint curve of a horse's neck as it grazes calmly. Each detail contributes to the overall harmony of the army and the landscape, a delicate interweaving of human action, observation, and natural rhythm. You walk slowly along the crest of a hill, feeling the gentle undulation beneath your feet, and allow the soft energy of rolling terrain and careful preparation to settle into your mind. Finally, as the morning continues to unfold, the hills reveal their full, gentle beauty, soft curves blending into the plain, sunlight reflecting off dew and armor, and the quiet cadence of soldiers and horses moving with deliberate care. You breathe slowly, absorbing the calm, expansive rhythm of this serene environment, feeling the subtle lessons of patience, observation, and gentle presence sink quietly into your senses. Somewhere between earth and sky, hills and plain, human action and natural rhythm, you notice the quiet magic of preparation, a soft, unhurried energy that carries both history and stillness across the morning. You step lightly onto the soft, sun-warmed earth of the plain, feeling the gentle rise and fall of the landscape beneath your feet. The afternoon sun bathes everything in a mellow, golden light, softening edges and creating long, gentle shadows across the grass. A warm breeze stirs quietly through the fields, carrying the faint scent of wild herbs, dry earth, and distant smoke from small fires still flickering softly among scattered tents. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its weight and snorts softly, the sound blending with the muted clink of armor and the slow movement of soldiers. The plain stretches endlessly before you, its vastness softened by the warmth of the day and the calm rhythm of activity. The soldiers move deliberately across the plain, adjusting formations, patting horses, and checking supplies with unhurried care. Historical accounts describe the Macedonian army as highly disciplined, yet even in preparation for a significant engagement like Gaugamela, there was space for quiet moments of reflection. You imagine Alexander walking slowly along the lines, noting the gentle sway of banners, the subtle gleam of sunlight on helmets, and the quiet, measured movements of men and horses. The rhythm of activity, harmonized with the soft hum of the wind and distant streams, creates a serene cadence, a meditative pulse that settles calmly over the entire plain. You pause near a shallow, rise to observe the full expanse of the field. The gentle slope reveals small clusters of soldiers moving slowly through the sun-dappled grass, their steps measured and purposeful. A horse lifts its head to sniff the breeze, ears flicking, while a soldier gently adjusts his reins. You breathe, slowly, feeling the warmth of the sun and the subtle energy of the plain infuse your senses. Somewhere nearby, a small bird flutters past, wings catching the sunlight briefly before it settles again among low shrubs. Every detail, the shimmer of dew in shadowed grass, the faint glint of metal, the soft sway of horse, adds to a sense of calm observation, encouraging your mind to move slowly and peacefully. Historical notes tell us that Alexander's troops were quietly attentive during these hours, often performing minor drills, inspections, and personal preparations without haste. You imagine him standing calmly, observing both the subtle movements of the army and the patterns of nature around him. Perhaps he notices how the sunlight reflects differently across the rolling hills, how distant smoke curves in the wind, or how a shallow stream glimmers faintly in the afternoon light. Each observation informs not only strategy, but also a quiet attentiveness to the rhythms of the plain, a patient understanding of place and movement. Legends of the area hint at small mysteries among the fields, glimpses of unidentifiable shadows, whispers of creatures hidden in tall grass, and the gentle ripple of water where no wind seems to reach. You walk slowly, imagining Alexander noticing such subtle phenomena, allowing these quiet, almost imperceptible hints to inform his awareness of terrain. Somewhere beneath the calm surface of afternoon activity, these minor details create a rich tapestry of observation, blending preparation with reflection. The plain itself seems alive, responding softly to the sun, wind, and human presence, offering cues that can only be perceived in gentle attention. The afternoon sun climbs higher, casting long golden rays across gentle hills and open grasslands. You notice soldiers adjusting formations with measured care, horses shifting weight under patient riders, and distant banners swaying lazily in the breeze. The interplay of light and shadow on armor, grass and earth, creates subtle patterns that invite slow, deliberate observation. You pause to watch a shallow pool reflecting the sky above, sunlight scattering across the rippling surface, and feel a sense of serene connection with both the present moment and the centuries of history embedded in the plain. Alexander's strategies relied on observation and timing, integrating careful attention to subtle terrain features with the disciplined movement of troops. You imagine him walking gently along the sunlit field, tracing contours, observing formations, and considering small adjustments. Somewhere nearby, a soldier kneels to adjust a strap, another softly brushes a horse's flank, and the faint sound of leather and metal forms a gentle background hum. The rhythm of the plain is slow and meditative, a delicate interweaving of natural observation and quiet preparation that guides both thought and action. As you move across the plain, the gentle warmth of the sun and the soft touch of the breeze encourage a calm, reflective pace. You notice the delicate sway of grasses in patterns formed by the wind, the faint shimmer of dew in shaded hollows, and the quiet interactions of soldiers and horses. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls softly, its voice carrying across the open field like a whisper. Each detail blends into a seamless, peaceful rhythm, inviting your attention to linger on textures, light, and subtle motion. The afternoon feels timeless, a slow, unhurried stretch of calm before the eventual unfolding of events to come. Historical sources indicate that moments of quiet like these were often emphasized before battles, allowing soldiers to gather focus and energy in a serene environment. You imagine Alexander moving slowly through the lines, observing subtle cues in posture, arrangement, and interaction, integrating each detail into a holistic awareness of the army's readiness. Somewhere, a horse shifts weight softly, ears flicking, and the sunlight glimmers on a distant banner, creating a gentle interplay of movement and light. You step lightly, letting the soft rhythm of the plain, the warmth of the sun, and the gentle energy of preparation settle into your senses. Finally, as the afternoon continues, the plain's golden light bathes every hill and hollow, every blade of grass and polished piece of armor in a gentle glow. You pause to absorb the calm, expansive atmosphere, noting the soft harmony of human action and natural rhythm. Soldiers and horses move with slow precision. The wind whispers across the grass, and distant streams shimmer faintly in sunlight. You breathe slowly, feeling the expansive tranquility of the plain, the quiet pulse of activity, and the gentle, meditative energy of preparation wash over you. The afternoon calm invites reflection, observation, and serenity, a slow, deliberate unfolding of light, space, and attentive presence. You walk slowly along a gentle rise overlooking the battlefield, the afternoon sun casting a warm, golden light that stretches long, soft shadows across the grass. The plain undulates softly, with tiny rises and dips that catch the sunlight in delicate patterns. Somewhere nearby, horses shift their weight and snort softly, the gentle clink of metal from saddles and armor blending with the faint rustle of soldiers moving slowly through the field. Each movement, each sound, becomes part of a subtle rhythm that encourages calm observation, allowing your mind to drift in gentle awareness of the world around you. The soldiers below adjust formations, their steps measured, their motions deliberate yet soothing. You notice the soft sway of banners in the breeze, catching the sunlight at different angles and creating a mosaic of moving color across the battlefield. Historical accounts describe these moments as quietly tense, though externally calm, with soldiers preparing carefully for action while the world itself seems to pause. You imagine Alexander walking slowly along the lines, observing subtle changes in posture and arrangement, noticing the interaction of light and shadow on armor, shields, and horses, and integrating all of this into a serene, reflective awareness. The afternoon light highlights the gentle undulations of the field, creating shadows that shift softly across grass and tents. You pause to observe the play of illumination, noticing how every blade of grass, every polished surface, and every distant figure seems to participate in the slow dance of sunlight. Somewhere a bird glides across the sky, wings catching the light, while a faint breeze stirs the air, carrying the gentle scent of earth, dry herbs, and distant smoke from cooking fires. Each sensory detail weaves into a soft tapestry, encouraging you to move slowly, breathe deeply, and appreciate the subtle beauty of the plain. Historical notes suggest that Alexander meticulously reviewed his battlefield, observing how the sunlight and shadows might reveal or conceal movement, affect perception, and influence strategy. You imagine him standing on a small rise, watching soldiers below, noting the gentle curves of the terrain, the placement of natural features, and the subtle differences in light across various sections of the field. The interplay of human action and natural rhythm creates a calm, contemplative environment, a space where patience, attention, and reflective awareness guide both thought and preparation. You notice the soldiers performing small, deliberate adjustments. A shield tilted slightly, a strap tightened, a horse nudged gently into position. Somewhere in the distance, sunlight glints softly on metal, creating fleeting reflections that catch your eye and then disappear like whispered secrets of the earth. The soft undulation of the hills and the play of shadow on grass encourage slow observation and mindful breathing, grounding you in the gentle rhythm of the afternoon. You might smile softly at the thought that even in the preparation for monumental events, the world provides calm, quiet moments to notice beauty and subtlety. Legends of the battlefield, whisper of subtle mysteries in the shadows, faint traces of movement unaccounted for, sudden ripples in the grass that vanish without explanation, or strange impressions left in the soil. You imagine Alexander noticing such delicate details, absorbing the subtle language of terrain and environment to guide his choices. The soft rhythm of the sun, the breeze, and the gentle activity of soldiers creates a meditative pulse across the battlefield, encouraging reflective attention without hurried dot as the sun moves westward. Shadows lengthen and stretch, their gentle arcs tracing the contours of the land. You pause near a shallow dip, watching the interplay of sunlight and shade across the plain. Horses shift their weight under patient riders, banners flutter softly, and soldiers continue slow, deliberate movements. A soft sound of leather, metal, and hooves blends with distant murmurs, creating a continuous soothing rhythm. You notice the shimmer of dew or dust in the light, the subtle glint of sunlight on distant armor, and the gentle sway of grass-all details that together form a tapestry of calm observation. Historical records indicate that Alexander's strategic insight often relied on noticing subtle environmental cues, including light and shadow, terrain curvature, and patterns of movement. You imagine him walking slowly along the edge of a formation, eyes tracing soft slopes, observing how sunlight falls on different ridges, noting potential paths for cavalry, or the gentle hiding of infantry behind subtle dips. The interplay of natural features and human positioning contributes to a careful, reflective approach to leadership. Somewhere a bird calls faintly, echoing softly across the battlefield, reminding you of the gentle presence of life in all its forms. You continue along a gentle rise, feeling the soft give of earth beneath your feet. The battlefield stretches in rolling patterns, dotted with faint glimmers of sunlight on armor, weapons, and distant tents. The rhythm of movement, soldiers adjusting positions, horses shifting weight, banners swaying blends seamlessly with the whisper of wind through grass, the distant glimmer of water, and the soft shadow patterns that shift slowly as the sun moves. Each observation encourages patience and attentiveness, a mindful rhythm that balances awareness and calm, reflection and movement. Some accounts mention minor adjustments performed in quiet solitude, small rituals or gestures thought to bring luck or focus. You imagine Alexander pausing, noticing subtle nuances in posture, alignment, and interaction, letting these details guide a calm, measured sense of preparedness. The sunlit shadows shift gradually, highlighting new contours, creating fleeting patterns, and emphasizing the expansive scale of the plain in a soft, gentle manner. You inhale slowly, letting the warm air, delicate light, and rhythmic sounds settle into your senses, reinforcing a sense of serenity and connectedness with the battlefield and its subtle, quiet energy. Finally, as the afternoon sun continues its gentle journey across the sky, the shadows stretch long and soft, painting slow, meditative patterns across the terrain. Soldiers move deliberately, horses shift, and the faint glimmer of sunlight dances across grass and metal. You pause to absorb the calm, expansive rhythm of light, shadow, and activity, noticing the quiet harmony between human effort and natural presence. The battlefield, in its sunlit tranquility, encourages reflection, observation, and serenity, a gentle interlude that prepares both body and mind for the days and nights yet to unfold. You step slowly across the soft, undulating plain as the sun dips lower, casting a mellow glow that stretches long shadows across the grass. The warmth of the afternoon slowly fades, replaced by a gentle chill that carries the faint scent of earth, dry herbs, and distant streams. Horses shift their weight quietly, and the low hum of soldiers, moving through tents and around small fires, blends seamlessly with the whisper of wind through grass. Every sound, every movement, feels deliberate and unhurried, forming a gentle rhythm that encourages calm reflection. The hills and valleys stretch softly before you, bathed in the warm, amber light of evening. The subtle sway of grass in the breeze, the gentle flicker of distant flames, and the occasional rustle of leather and metal create a soothing symphony of motion and sound. Historical accounts suggest that after battles or during preparation, Alexander often took time to observe the quiet patterns of the land and the behavior of his troops, integrating these reflections into his understanding of strategy and human nature. You imagine him standing on a slight rise, gazing across the plain, absorbing the serene energy of the moment, and letting his thoughts drift gently across the contours of the landscape. You notice the soft interplay of light and shadow across tents, horses, and banners. The sun, now near the horizon, paints everything in shades of gold, rose, and amber, elongating every shadow and highlighting subtle textures of grass, leather, and fabric. Somewhere nearby, a horse snorts softly and shifts its hooves, the sound blending into the quiet murmur of soldiers preparing for evening routines. Each movement, each soft sound, forms a meditative pattern, a gentle cadence that encourages you to slow your breath, feel your steps, and appreciate the delicate balance of life and activity on the plains. Legends speak of subtle signs observed during these quiet twilight hours, reflections in water, fleeting shadows, or gentle movements in tall grass that hint at unseen presences. You imagine Alexander noticing these small details, considering how the interplay of environment and human activity informs understanding. Even when the day's primary actions have ended, the quiet reflection of nightfall provides a gentle pause, a time to absorb and integrate observation with thought, allowing even subtle phenomena to offer insight. The warm glow of the setting sun softens into gentle pastels, spreading across the horizon in delicate bands of pink, lavender, and pale gold. You walk slowly along a shallow rise, noticing the faint shimmer of dew forming on grass and the soft sway of leaves in the cooling breeze. Soldiers move with measured care, adjusting gear, tending to horses, and completing quiet tasks with a calm attention that mirrors the rhythm of the plain. Somewhere, a bird glides low across the field, wings catching the last rays of sunlight before settling silently among the distant shrubs. The plain feels alive yet tranquil, a space that invites reflection and a slow, thoughtful awareness of every detail. Historical notes indicate that Alexander valued moments of reflection after exertion, whether following long marches, engagements, or strategic planning. You imagine him walking quietly among tents and horses, observing subtle interactions, noting the position of stars beginning to appear, and integrating each observation into a calm, measured awareness of the battlefield and its rhythms. Somewhere nearby, the faint glimmer of a small stream catches the last light, its gentle ripples echoing softly across the plains. The combination of light, shadow, movement, and gentle sound creates a meditative atmosphere, encouraging patient attention and subtle reflection. You pause near a slight depression, observing the soft ripple of grasses and the long, delicate shadows stretching across the plain. The air cools gently, carrying faint scents of evening dew and the dry warmth of sun-baked earth. Horses shift and nuzzle quietly, soldiers whisper in hushed tones, and the faint clink of leather and metal adds a soothing undercurrent to the evening's calm. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls softly, a sound carrying across the field like a gentle reminder of life's continuity. You allow your senses to absorb the soft rhythm of the landscape, the interplay of light and shadow, and the subtle pulse of human and animal activity in harmony. Some accounts suggest that certain strategies and tactics succeeded due to Alexander's careful observation of natural conditions, including wind direction, light angles, and terrain subtlety. You imagine him reflecting quietly on such influences, noting how the evening shadows stretch across hills and dips, subtly altering perception and positioning. The gentle twilight invites calm contemplation, a moment to consider both human endeavor and the enduring presence of the natural world. Each detail, the shimmer of dew, the rustle of grass, the slow movement of soldiers and horses, forms a quiet symphony that encourages patient awareness that the sun finally dips below the horizon, leaving the plains wrapped in a gentle twilight, where the soft afterglow of day mingles with the faint flicker of distant fires. Slowly, stars begin to appear, tiny points of light emerging delicately against the deepening indigo sky. You notice a subtle shift in the air as night settles over the landscape. The breeze softens, carrying with it the calming sense of earth, crushed herbs, and the faint trace of smoke from far-off fires. Soldiers move carefully toward their tents, finishing small tasks with quiet, deliberate motions, while horses lower their heads to graze, moving with gentle patience. The plain itself seems to exhale, releasing the energy of the day in a collective, peaceful sigh. Each subtle sound, the rustle of grass, the distant trickle of water, the soft clink of equipment, blends into a calming rhythm. You pause, allowing your breath to slow, your senses to absorb the stillness, and your mind to settle into the serene embrace of twilight, feeling a deep, quiet connection with the tranquil evening landscape. Finally, as nightfall deepens, the gentle pulse of the day transitions into a quiet rhythm of reflection and rest. The long shadows of sunset have softened into subtle patterns beneath the stars. You imagine Alexander standing quietly atop a small rise, gazing across the battlefield, absorbing the calm of the night, and allowing the reflections of the day to settle softly in his mind. Somewhere beneath the surface, the plain itself holds echoes of movement, observation, and quiet preparation, whispering subtle lessons in patience, attentiveness, and calm reflection. You step softly along the gentle slopes of quiet hills, the evening light fading into soft, cool tones that brush the earth in subtle shades of blue and gold. The air carries the delicate scent of dew-soaked grass, faint herbs, and distant water flowing calmly across the plains. Somewhere nearby, horses shift their weight gently, the faint clink of leather and soft murmur of soldiers blending harmoniously with the soft ripple of a river winding through the hills. Each sound and movement seems to follow a measured rhythm, a gentle cadence that encourages your mind to slow and your senses to notice subtle patterns of life and land. The hills roll softly, leading your gaze across the gentle curves of the terrain. In the distance, the river reflects the dimming sky, a slow silver ribbon meandering lazily through valleys and meadows. Historical records indicate that Alexander often used natural features like rivers and hills for observation, planning, and positioning of troops. You imagine him walking slowly along these ridges, pausing to notice how sunlight, shadow, and water interact, noting subtle shifts in terrain that might guide cavalry movements or influence strategic formations. The interplay of hills and river creates a soft, flowing pattern that mirrors the calm rhythm of thought and reflection. As you follow the contours of a quiet hill, the gentle murmur of water becomes more distinct. You step closer to the riverbank, feeling the soft give of earth beneath your feet, noticing the faint glimmer of sunlight on rippling water. Somewhere nearby, a horse grazes slowly, the soft rustle of grass and the occasional clink of tack forming a delicate, soothing soundtrack to the calm landscape. The hills cradle the river, creating gentle pockets where shadows linger and light dances across the surface. Each detail encourages slow observation, mindful breathing, and a serene awareness of both natural and human activity in quiet harmony. Legends whisper softly of these quiet landscapes, where fleeting glimpses of creatures in the hills or subtle ripples in rivers vanish almost as soon as they appear. You imagine Alexander pausing to notice such delicate phenomena, quietly integrating these subtle cues into his understanding of the terrain and its gentle rhythms. The hills themselves seem to breathe, their soft curves and slopes guiding movement, with an unhurried, calming energy that blends seamlessly with the natural world. As you walk slowly across the plain, each step feels synchronized with the subtle pulse of nature, the flowing rivers, the gentle sway of grass, and the muted sounds of distant life. The quiet, measured rhythm of the plains encourages reflective awareness, inviting patience and calm attention to each detail. Every movement, every sound, every shimmer of light fosters a serene connection with the landscape, creating a meditative space where you can feel the soothing energy of nature and the thoughtful presence of Alexander quietly observing the world. Around him, the sunlight fades gradually, replaced by the gentle glow of twilight that softens the edges of hills, riverbanks, and distant trees. Soldiers move quietly, tending to horses, adjusting equipment, and performing small, deliberate tasks. Somewhere, a bird flits low across the river, wings catching the faint light before settling among distant shrubs. The quiet movements of men and animals blend with natural rhythms, creating a soft tapestry of gentle sound and slow motion. You pause, allowing the atmosphere of flowing water, rolling hills, and subdued human activity to infuse your senses with calm energy. Historical notes suggest that Alexander sometimes established temporary observation points along hills or near rivers to understand terrain better and monitor troop positions. You imagine him walking slowly along the crest of a hill, gazing down at the river, noting subtle bends, hidden banks, and patterns of vegetation. Each small observation might guide the placement of scouts, the positioning of cavalry, or the timing of maneuvers. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its hooves and a soldier quietly adjusts the strap, the faint sounds mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft lap of water against the riverbank. The hills and river create an almost hypnotic rhythm, flowing and undulating gently with the contours of the land. You notice how light and shadow play across the water surface, how grasses bend softly in the breeze, and how distant hills fade gradually into muted silhouettes. The interaction between natural features and human presence encourages slow, reflective observation, as if the landscape itself is teaching patience, attentiveness, and quiet appreciation of subtle cues. You take a deep breath, feeling the cool, fragrant air fill your lungs, and allow your gaze to drift slowly along the river, following its meandering path through the hills. Some accounts mention that Alexander experimented with temporary observation, posts on hills, placing sentries or scouts to gain information about enemy movements and terrain features. You imagine him pausing at one such vantage point, noticing the faint patterns of wind on water, the gentle sway of grass, and the subtle colors shifting across hillsides. The calm, flowing rhythm of the river and the steady presence of the hills create an environment where thought, reflection, and observation merge seamlessly, inviting you to move slowly, notice carefully, and integrate each gentle detail into a broader awareness. The twilight deepens, the sky painted with soft shades of lavender and pale gold, and stars begin to emerge faintly above the hills. You watch the river reflect these delicate colors, shimmering with a subtle dance of light that soothes the senses. Horses graze quietly nearby. Soldiers complete small tasks with deliberate care, and the soft whisper of wind through trees and grass adds a gentle undertone to the quiet scene. The hills cradle the plain, guiding your gaze and steps with their gentle curves, encouraging slow, mindful movement and reflection. Finally, as the evening progresses, the river glimmers softly under the emerging stars. Hills settle into shadowed tranquility, and the faint sounds of human and animal presence merge with the natural world in a seamless, soothing cadence. You take a slow breath, feeling the gentle pulse of the landscape, the soft flow of water, the undulating hills, and the subtle rhythm of life around you. The quiet harmony of this moment encourages reflection, observation, and calm presence. A serene interlude where the beauty of rivers and hills merges with patient awareness and gentle energy. You step gently onto the soft, sunlit plain, the warmth of midday sunlight bathing the earth and the subtle undulations of grass and soil. The air is filled with a faint, soothing scent of herbs, dry earth, and leather, punctuated by the gentle metallic gleam of armor reflecting the sun's rays. Somewhere nearby, horses shift their weight with quiet patience, their hooves pressing softly into the warm ground, blending with the soft shuffle of soldiers moving slowly across the field. Each step, each movement, seems deliberate yet effortless, a rhythm that encourages your senses to slow and absorb the gentle atmosphere surrounding you. The plain stretches endlessly, dotted with orderly formations of infantry and cavalry that rise and fall with the soft curves of the land. Historical accounts suggest that even amidst preparation for battle, Alexander encouraged calm, deliberate pacing among his troops, integrating periods of reflection and attentive care. You imagine him walking slowly along the lines, noting the slight adjustments in posture, the soft glimmer of sunlight on polished armor, and the subtle sway of banners in the gentle breeze. Each observation seems almost meditative, blending strategy with quiet awareness of the natural and human environment. You pause at a gentle incline, observing a cluster of soldiers tending their horses. The soft clinking of metal, the rustle of leather, and the occasional snort or shift of a horse's hooves create a delicate, soothing soundscape. Somewhere in the distance, the faint gurgle of a river blends with the soft whisper of wind across the grass, forming a harmonious rhythm that encourages slow observation and reflective thought. The plain itself seems alive yet tranquil, a place where human activity and natural presence coexist in gentle balance, and where attention to detail becomes a quiet form of meditation. Historical notes suggest that Alexander paid close attention to calm, deliberate preparation, ensuring both men and animals were cared for with gentle precision. You imagine him walking slowly across the sunlit plain, observing every subtle action. Horses fed and resting comfortably, soldiers sipping water or seeking soft patches of shade, and equipment checked carefully with quiet focus. Each movement contributes to a measured rhythm of readiness, a serene cadence that seems to flow naturally across the landscape. A soldier shifts gently, adjusting a strap, while a nearby horse flicks its tail lazily, the soft motions blending harmoniously with the surrounding scene. The warm sunlight stretches long shadows across the undulating hills, casting a golden glow over tents, banners, and grazing animals. You notice the delicate interplay of light, motion, and quiet human attention, creating a sense of calm, mindful presence. The plain seems to breathe in gentle unison with its inhabitants, inviting slow observation, reflective awareness, and a peaceful, meditative calm The sunlight casts long, soft shadows across the grass, revealing the subtle undulations of the terrain. You notice how gentle slopes and shallow dips create pockets of shade, and how sunlight glints off metal surfaces and leather straps in muted patterns. The warm air carries the faint scent of wildflowers, dry grass, and distant water, blending with the earthy tones of the plain to create an atmosphere of calm focus. Each element, the play of light and shadow, the soft movements of soldiers and horses, the rhythmic whisper of wind encourage deliberate observation and gentle attentiveness. You wander slowly along a path that traces the rise and fall of the terrain, noticing how the sun illuminates small details, the subtle texture of horsehair, the faint gleam of polished armor, and the delicate sway of grass in the breeze. Somewhere nearby, a banner flutters softly, catching the sunlight in shifting patterns that draw the eye without urgency. The soldiers move quietly, adjusting formations, tending to equipment, and performing small tasks with care. Historical accounts suggest that Alexander valued these calm moments, using them to observe, reflect, and prepare with a level of attention that balanced discipline with patience. The soft warmth of the sun encourages a slow, thoughtful pace. You pause near a shallow depression, feeling the gentle give of the earth beneath your feet, and notice how the landscape seems to flow beneath the sun's steady gaze. Horses graze calmly, soldiers move with measured care, and the subtle interplay of light and shadow creates a soothing visual rhythm across the plain. Legends whisper of minor details noticed during these quiet preparations: a subtle pattern in the grass, a fleeting shimmer on distant armor, or the soft ripple of water that hints at hidden currents. You imagine Alexander noting these delicate cues, integrating them into both strategy and reflective awareness. Somewhere, a distant horse lifts its head, ears flicking, while a soldier bends to check a strap, the faint sounds forming a gentle cadence across the plain. The sunlight continues to shift slowly, highlighting new contours and emphasizing subtle differences in elevation, texture, and color. Each observation, each gentle shift of attention, contributes to a calm, deliberate awareness that blends preparation with reflection. You take a deep, slow breath, letting the warmth of the sun, the soft rhythm of movement, and the gentle energy of the plain settle into your senses, grounding your mind in the serene present. Historical records note that Alexander sometimes paused during such sunlit preparations to consider broader strategic questions, integrating subtle environmental cues into plans for troop deployment, cavalry maneuvers, and tactical timing. You imagine him walking quietly along the edge of a formation, observing shadows, light angles, and patterns of movement, while the soldiers and horses continue their slow rhythmic preparation. The plain seems to exhale with every step, every soft rustle of grass, and every gentle shift of weight, creating a meditative pulse that encourages patient attention and calm awareness. Finally, as the sun continues its slow descent, the plain remains bathed in warm light, shadows stretching softly across gentle rises and shallow hollows. Horses shift, soldiers move with measured care, and the subtle interplay of sunlight, wind, and movement creates a harmonious, serene cadence. You pause to absorb the calm, expansive rhythm of the sunlit plain, noticing the quiet interplay of preparation, observation, and natural presence. The gentle energy of the moment encourages reflection, attentiveness, and serenity, a quiet, meditative interlude where the simple rhythm of life in preparation merges seamlessly with the expansive, sunlit landscape. You walk slowly across the sunlit plain, noticing how the gentle afternoon light begins to soften, casting long, delicate shadows that stretch across the earth. The warmth of the sun bathes the gentle rises and dips of the terrain, and the subtle breeze carries the faint scent of dry grass, distant water, and herbs scattered across the fields. Horses shift their weight quietly, their hooves pressing gently into the earth, while soldiers move with deliberate care, adjusting equipment and tending to small tasks. Each soft movement, each faint sound, contributes to a rhythm that encourages reflection and calm presence. The shadows stretch gradually over the rolling terrain, forming patterns that move slowly with the descent of the sun. You pause at a gentle rise to observe the effect, noting how the light catches on polished armor, banners, and the soft sheen of leather. Historical accounts suggest that Alexander often walked along his troops' lines at such times, observing the subtle interplay of light, shadow, and terrain to understand both the physical and psychological state of his army. You imagine him pausing, letting his eyes trace the shifting patterns on the plain, integrating observation and reflection into a calm awareness of readiness. Somewhere nearby, a horse flicks its tail softly, brushing against the warmth of the sunlit grass, while a soldier kneels to check a strap, the soft rustle of leather blending with the faint clinking of metal. The plain stretches endlessly, hills rising gently in the distance, and the subtle interplay of sunlight and shadow creates a slow, soothing rhythm. You allow your senses to absorb the faint fragrance of herbs, the warmth of the sun, and the gentle sway of grasses, feeling a sense of peaceful observation that mirrors the measured movements of the soldiers and animals around you. Legends whisper of small omens and subtle signs that appear during the quiet moments on the plain. A fleeting shadow dancing across the grass, a gentle ripple of water in a shallow pool, or the soft, patterned movement of wind through banners and leaves. You imagine Alexander noticing these delicate phenomena, pausing to observe each one, and weaving them into his understanding of terrain, troop positioning, and the timing of movements. The soft interplay of shadow and light across the undulating plain becomes a meditation on awareness, patience, and subtle observation, inviting you to slow your pace, breathe deeply, and attune to the calm rhythm of the land. The afternoon light continues to soften, brushing hills and valleys in gentle amber and gold, elongating shadows across the contours of the earth. You walk along a shallow rise, watching soldiers move with measured care, horses shift their weight slowly, and banners flutter lazily in the breeze. The warm air carries the faint scents of herbs, fresh earth, and distant water, blending with the quiet murmurs of human and animal life. Each small sound and movement forms a gentle cadence, a delicate rhythm that encourages mindful observation and reflective calm. You allow your senses to take in the scene fully, the shimmer of sunlight, the sway of grass, the soft glint of metal, and feel a serene connection to the peaceful, measured energy of the afternoon plain. Historical records indicate that Alexander sometimes used the interplay of sunlight and shadow to assess visibility, terrain advantage, and troop positions. You imagine him walking slowly along a gentle rise, observing how shadows fall across ridges and hollows, noting areas where the light reveals or conceals, and integrating this quiet awareness into his strategic thinking. Somewhere nearby, a horse lifts its head, ears flicking, while a soldier adjusts a strap with careful attention. The faint sounds mingle with the whisper of wind through the grass, forming a meditative soundtrack that guides reflection and presence. You pause to take in the sweeping view, long shadows stretching across the plain, distant hills fading softly into muted tones, and sunlight glimmering gently on polished armor and leather. Soldiers move in quiet, deliberate motions, adjusting formations and preparing for evening routines. Somewhere, a small bird glides across the field, wings catching the fading light before settling quietly in the grass. A gentle rhythm of movement, light, and sound encourages mindful observation, a calm awareness of the interplay between human action and the natural world. Some accounts mention that Alexander occasionally experimented with subtle variations in troop formation, using shadows and light to mask movement or create visual cues for coordination. You imagine him observing these effects, pausing to notice subtle shifts in light across the terrain and adjusting his awareness accordingly. The gentle shadows of late afternoon create a soft, meditative environment, allowing for reflection, planning, and quiet observation without urgency. The plane itself seems to breathe, its contours, light, and movement guiding your pace and awareness with a gentle, patient energy. The sun continues its gentle descent, casting the hills and plains in warm, muted tones, while long shadows stretch softly across the landscape, softened by the cooling evening air. Horses graze quietly, their movements slow and measured, while soldiers move deliberately, tending to small tasks with calm attention. The soft interplay of light and shadow forms a soothing visual rhythm, inviting a reflective pace and gentle awareness. You notice the subtle ripple of grasses stirred by the breeze, the faint glint of metal catching the final rays of sunlight, and a quiet sway of banners along the camp. Each small movement blends seamlessly with the natural energy of the plain, creating a tranquil tapestry that encourages slow observation, relaxed breathing, and a deep sense of peaceful presence amidst the fading warmth of the day. Finally, as the day moves toward evening, the shadows deepen and lengthen across the plain, embracing gentle rises, shallow dips, and distant hills in a soft, comforting darkness. The warmth of the sun fades, replaced by a gentle coolness that carries the sense of earth, herbs, and water. Horses settle quietly, soldiers finish their careful preparations, and the plain itself exhales a subtle, meditative energy. You pause to absorb the rhythm of shadow and light, the soft movements of life across the land, and the gentle, patient cadence of this serene afternoon. The interplay of sunlight, shadow, and human presence forms a delicate, calming symphony, a reflective moment that encourages mindfulness, awareness, and serenity before the approaching evening. You walk slowly across the soft, evening-lit plain, the fading sunlight casting a gentle glow over hills and distant tents. The warm hues of gold and rose mingle with the cool shadows stretching across the land, creating a calm, soothing landscape. The air is filled with the faint scent of dry grass, herbs, and the lingering warmth of the earth. Horses shift gently, their hooves pressing softly into the ground, and soldiers move quietly, tending to small tasks, adjusting gear and speaking in soft, measured tones. Every movement, every subtle sound, contributes to a peaceful rhythm that encourages reflection and gentle awareness. The battlefield stretches endlessly before you, dotted with the remnants of preparation and movement. Historical accounts suggest that the victory at Gaugamela was decisive, opening the path for Alexander to advance deeper into the Persian Empire. You imagine him walking slowly among his troops, noting the calm after the day's exertion, appreciating the steady care of his soldiers, and observing the subtle patterns of light and shadow that dance across tents, banners, and distant hills. The scene is quiet, almost meditative, as if the plain itself holds its breath, embracing both human effort and natural beauty in a delicate harmony. Soft breezes carry the faint rustle of grass, the whisper of distant water, and the subdued murmur of human activity. You pause to notice a horse flicking its tail, a banner swaying gently, and the glimmer of polished armor catching the last rays of sunlight. The subtle interplay of light and shadow across the undulating hills invites slow, deliberate observation. Somewhere nearby, a bird glides low across the field, wings shimmering faintly in the soft light before settling quietly in the grass. The gentle rhythm of natural movement blends seamlessly with the quiet actions of soldiers and animals, creating a peaceful cadence that encourages thoughtful reflection. Alexander often used moments like these to consider the consequences of his victories, reflecting on both the immediate achievements and the long, complex paths ahead. You imagine him standing quietly on a gentle rise, gazing across the plain, noting the soft patterns of light and shadow, and allowing his thoughts to drift in gentle waves. The battlefield, though shaped by human action, seems to return to tranquility, and the interaction of land, light, and life forms a calm, contemplative atmosphere. You feel the subtle, meditative pulse of the evening, a rhythm that invites patience, reflection, and quiet awareness now the sun dips further toward the horizon, painting the hills and plains in muted shades of gold, rose, and violet. Soldiers move carefully through tents and around horses, finishing tasks with deliberate, calm attention. Somewhere a distant stream reflects the fading light, its gentle ripples adding a soft, soothing soundtrack to the scene. The plain seems to exhale, the energy of the day slowly settling into quiet reflection. Historical records suggest that even amidst great victories, Alexander valued moments of calm observation, allowing both himself and his troops to absorb the significance of their actions in a serene, attentive manner. You continue along a gentle incline, observing the subtle glow of lanterns beginning to flicker across the camp. The interplay of firelight, fading sunlight, and soft shadows creates a tranquil, almost ethereal effect, illuminating horses, soldiers, and banners in delicate patterns. Somewhere nearby, a horse shifts its hooves, and a soldier adjusts a strap. Quietly, the faint rustle of grass and the whisper of wind through tents and trees add to the meditative cadence. You pause, letting the serene atmosphere settle into your senses, appreciating the delicate balance between human achievement, natural beauty, and reflective calm. Some legends suggest that Alexander sometimes used these moments to absorb the lessons of the day, considering minor details that might influence future strategy, the flow of water across the plain, the patterns of wind and light, or the subtle cues of human and animal behavior. You imagine him walking slowly along the edge of a hill, noting small movements of soldiers and horses, observing shadows lengthening across the field, and integrating these observations into a quiet, reflective awareness. The battlefield in evening light becomes a place of contemplation, where victory is acknowledged gently, and the energy of accomplishment is absorbed calmly rather than celebrated with urgency. As twilight gently approaches, the warmth of the earth begins to soften, giving way to a pale, soothing light that bathes the hills and plains in calm tones. Gentle undulations stretch before you, shadows deepening softly across every rise and hollow, creating a tranquil rhythm across the landscape. Horses lower their heads, grazing with quiet patience, while soldiers finish tidying their equipment and settle near small fires, their movements slow and deliberate. The interplay of subtle details, the faint glimmer of armor, the soft rustle of grass, and the delicate scent of herbs and earth forms a meditative tapestry. Each element invites reflection, calm awareness, and gentle observation, encouraging your mind to slow and your senses to absorb the serene harmony of the evening. Historical accounts indicate that Alexander often reflected on both the victories achieved and the challenges yet to come, using quiet moments to gather insight, plan carefully, and absorb the significance of his actions. You imagine him pausing atop a small rise, looking across the gently sloping plain, noting the interplay of light and shadow on tents, banners, and distant hills, and letting the quiet rhythm of evening settle into his senses. The gentle movement of soldiers and horses, the whisper of wind, and the soft glimmer of lanterns all blend into a slow, soothing cadence, guiding attention and thought without urgency. Finally, as night falls gently across the battlefield, plain becomes a sanctuary of soft light, muted colors, and calm energy. The sun disappears beyond the horizon, leaving behind a serene palette of deep purples, soft blues, and fading gold. The subtle glow of stars begins to emerge, and a gentle breeze carries the faint scent of earth, herbs, and distant water. Horses settle quietly, soldiers rest near small fires, and the landscape itself exhales a peaceful sigh. You pause to take in the calm reflection of victory, the soft rhythm of movement and life, and the gentle, meditative energy of the evening, allowing every detail to infuse your senses with serenity. You wander slowly across the quiet plain, now bathed in the gentle silver glow of the rising moon. Its light spills softly over the rolling hills, tracing each curve and fold of the terrain, and glimmers faintly on the distant streams that wind lazily through the fields. Shadows stretch delicately beneath scattered trees, creating patterns that shift subtly as the breeze moves through their leaves. The air is cool and calming, carrying the faint fragrance of dew, crushed herbs, and the soft, earthy scent of the soil beneath your feet. Horses graze quietly nearby, their soft breathing and the occasional flick of a tail blending harmoniously with the gentle rustle of grass and the distant, soothing murmur of flowing water. The plain feels vast yet intimate, inviting slow observation, and the soft settling of thoughts dot as your eyes adjust. Tiny pinpricks of starlight appear, scattered like delicate jewels across the deepening navy sky. Moonlight dances across this polished surfaces of armor and metal, catching subtle angles that shift gracefully as soldiers and animals move with measured slowness. You imagine Alexander standing on a small rise, silent and contemplative, absorbing the tranquil rhythm of night. Historical records suggest that he often used these quiet hours to reflect on the land, his troops, and the long journey ahead. You picture him letting the soft moonlight wash over the battlefield, noticing every curve, shadow, and glimmer, while allowing thoughts of past campaigns to drift slowly. Like leaves on a calm river, a gentle wind moves across the hills, whispering softly through the grass and rustling banners hung along the camp. Horses shift their weight, snort softly, and flick their tails, while soldiers settle near small fires, tending quietly to gear or adjusting straps. The combination of shadows, light, and muted human activity forms a serene, meditative rhythm. Each step you take along the narrow path feels cushioned by the earth, every movement guided by the soft interplay of moonlight and shadow. The night encourages reflection, presence, and a delicate awareness of the subtle energies surrounding the plain, wrapping you in a sense of calm and gentle stillness. Rivers and streams glimmer softly under the gentle moonlight, reflecting the scattered stars above and creating shifting patches of silver that ripple slowly across the landscape. Each movement of water catches the eye, a delicate shimmer that mirrors the quiet rhythm of the night. The gentle flow mingles with the soft rustle of grass and the measured, deliberate movements of soldiers, forming a natural cadence that encourages calm, reflective thought. You imagine Alexander pausing to notice these subtle patterns, sensing lessons in the quiet interplay of water, land, and human presence, where the battlefield itself seems to exhale softly, carrying the memory of past efforts and blending them with the stillness of night. The hills rise and fall gently around you, their contours softened by the soothing silver glow, creating subtle pockets of shadow and light. You step slowly along the gentle slopes, feeling the earth give softly beneath your feet and noticing the faint, comforting rustle of leaves overhead. Dew sparkles quietly on the grass, each droplet catching moonlight like tiny stars mirrored on the ground. Horses stretch and shift lazily, soldiers move with calm, deliberate care, and the entire plain seems to settle into a tranquil rhythm. The soft whisper of wind, the faint glimmer of metal, and the rippling reflections of water combine to create a meditative ambience. Each sensory detail, the sound, the light, the movement forms a delicate, soothing tapestry, inviting slow awareness, gentle observation, and a deep, relaxing connection to the serene energy of the night. Historical accounts suggest that Alexander often took quiet moments during campaigns to reflect, noticing subtle details of terrain, light, and movement that shaped both strategy and understanding of his soldiers. You imagine him pausing by a small, gentle stream, watching the rippling reflections shimmer in the soft moonlight. The faint sounds of water, rustling grass, and distant animal movement blend together, creating a serene symphony that eases both mind and body. The battlefield, once alive with preparation and the energy of movement, now rests under a calm, almost magical glow, inviting patience and quiet contemplation. Soft shadows stretch across the plain, curving over hills, dips, and winding streams, while fires flicker gently where soldiers settle for the night. Horses nuzzle softly, their breathing slow and steady, adding to the subtle rhythm of the scene. You walk slowly along the moonlit path, feeling the gentle give of earth beneath. Your feet noticing the delicate interplay of shadow, light, and motion. Every small detail, the shimmering reflections, the whispering wind, the soft rustle of grass, encourages deep awareness while nurturing relaxation. The night feels alive yet peaceful, and you sense the moonlight itself wrapping the plain in a soft lullaby, guiding both thoughts and body toward calm, reflective rest. The moon rises higher, bathing the plain in a soothing silver glow. Hills and streams shimmer quietly, and the gentle rhythm of wind, water, and distant movement forms a slow, meditative cadence. Horses and soldiers rest peacefully, their soft breathing blending with the subtle rustle of grass. You feel your own body soften with the calm energy of the landscape, each breath becoming slower, deeper, and more relaxed. The plain, the moon, and the gentle night embrace you in quiet serenity. Shadows stretch softly, reflecting the contours of the hills, the shimmer of water, and the calm posture of resting soldiers. Each subtle sound, the distant whisper of wind, the faint clink of gears settling, the ripple of water, becomes part of a soothing rhythm that guides you gently toward rest. You imagine Alexander standing quietly, looking across the moonlit battlefield, feeling the weight of the journey and the peace of night. The world seems still, the night wrapping the plain in soft comfort. Let your mind follow this calm, allowing thoughts to drift like leaves on a gentle stream. Feel the soft energy of moonlight, the quiet breath of earth, and the rhythmic pulse of life around you. Slowly allow your eyes to close, your body to rest, and your mind to sink into the gentle embrace of sleep. Good night, and may your dreams carry the same calm, reflective energy that bathes the moonlit plains tonight. End of script. Thank you for listening, everyone.